Hi, Steve with Matsu Valley Avionics in Palmer, Alaska. I wanted to show you a fuel tank that we had come in for an annual recently. The customer had asked us to look into the filler necks, which were starting to become rusty, and when he would fill the fuel tank, he would be able to look inside, and he noticed that there was some debris building up in there. So we did that, and I want to show you what we found. Okay, so here's a couple of, well, here's one fuel tank. It's actually, we cut it in half, and so we could open it up. Here's the lower part of the fuel tank, and it looks pretty clean from here, but as we get a little bit closer, you'll start seeing that I've got a bunch of circles, and this is only a small amount of the actual circles or the actual holes, and they're literally holes in the bottom of the tank, and I've just circled a few of them that were really obvious, and you can see there's quite a bit of additional ones I didn't. And then here, the area right here is just all the metal is just corroded out. There's corrosion here. The inside of this little box we couldn't get that clean, whatever that is. It just would not come off with anything that we were using to try to clean it off. The finger strainer here that came out of this tank was almost, well, it certainly looked completely clogged, but fuel was barely flowing through here. And then the sump, even at this moment, is probably aren't going to be able to see inside there, but it's completely clogged still. I haven't knocked all the debris and whatever it is in there. Now, when we opened up this tank, the layer of whatever, I don't even know what it would be. It's a gooey, dark brown, like, material that's built up in here. It probably extended all the way up here and around and over to here, and whatever it was, we could not break it down with MEK, paint reducers, avgas. Everything we tried did nothing. How we got the tank to look like this, just after an effort of or continued effort, not intending to reinstall this, but we just, I guess, got to where we weren't going to get beat by it. It turned out we used an aluminum cleaner from Napa Auto Parts that was really for cleaning like big truck aluminum fuel tanks, and somebody had suggested to try that, and it cleaned this up in no time. It probably has some reaction to the aluminum, so it's probably not a good idea to put that in your fuel tank. But we needed to just get down to the bare aluminum and take a better look, and at that point we couldn't see all this. So once we did that, that's when we started discovering all these holes. And this tank did not leak. It was sealed up by whatever that was, probably a mixture of water and a few different types of fuels and maybe some additives over the years, and sitting outside in remote areas of Alaska, so it was getting pretty built up. And then as far as the rest of the parts, here's what we found for the float. You can see there's not much left of this one, and you can see all the rust is just falling out of this thing. And this one doesn't actually even move. It's seized up 100%. This guy actually still moves, but not sure we would ever want to put that back in. That's being sarcastic. And then, so what we did was we found a new tank at Sutton Salvage, the exact part number in really good shape, and it had the finger strainer already in it that we checked and was clean. And so we reinstalled new fuel senders. These are the McFarlane senders. They have a different type of resistor grid built into the circuit card, and so these have been pretty reliable for us. I had installed a set of these a while ago in a plane of mine, and with a Garmin 3X install, and they had been really accurate and consistent. So the one thing I did experience is sometimes the float doesn't slide very freely, and I think it was how it's interfacing to this hole and the way that it comes through this other side, and it was sometimes sticking. And actually, after the airplane sat for a while, the tanks showed the tanks showed full, even though they were only half full. This float was stuck up. It just took a little bit of flying, and then they loosened up and they were okay. But I had that. That's about the only thing I've ever experienced with these. They're a huge improvement over the Cessna Resistance, and these inside, they're just a wired wrapped resistor grid, and as they move, that it's just scraping against that wire, and you can maybe hear it. But hard to find these that are operating any good. And we do test these before we put them in to make sure that the resistance from empty to full is linear and accurate, and there's no dead spots or anything. And so new sending units installed. We installed all new gaskets and filler necks and caps. And then from there on, we went to the fuel selector valve, and I'll put some pictures of that in here. That was almost completely clogged up as well, and so that got rebuilt with a McFarlane kit as well. And then the bowl on the firewall cleaned and flushed out, and then everything started flowing really nicely. One of the discoveries we had was when we tried to drain the fuel, that we couldn't get the fuel out because this was clogged. And then when we opened up the drain by the firewall, it was barely a trickle. So we actually had to break the lines open at the different areas. And then the other discovery was the fuel would never shut off. It would trickle very slowly if we took a fuel line off, which meant that the selector valve wasn't closing 100%. And so we got this guy all cleaned up. Like I said, a new tank on the left side. The right side was good. New necks, caps, rebuilt selector valve, and everything started working correctly, and everything was clean. So, but just sharing that, I think lesson learned is to manage, sumping the fuel tanks, even if you're not flying the airplane. That fuel had built up quite a bit in this airplane. It had to be, given the damage to this, it had to be, an inch or so thick in this tank. All right, but that's just something I thought I'd share with you guys. Thanks.